Hello, it's Pastor John Carlo from Christian Pentecostal Church in Staten Island, New York. And we're studying a very interesting topic, and that is that angels. Who are they? Where did they come from? And so on. Last week we began. Let's just take a look at some of the things that we covered last week. We see that angels were created just like the natural man. The nature of angels is that they have bodies, and apparently they can travel throughout all of God's creation, all through the sky and such. In fact, they're called the stars, the morning stars of God is one of their definitions. How many are there? We don't know the actual number, but we can tell that it's a lot of people, a lot of special angelic people. And again, we can't really count them on our side of watching everything. One description of it in Psalm 68 says, the chariots of God, which they're called, are 20,000, even thousands of angels. Wow. We also see that they have personalities, just like human beings have personalities. They have intelligence. We can see it in Daniel 9 and 21. They have will to do and not to do things in Isaiah 14 and 12. They have emotions. We see that displayed in the story of Job in Job 38. And because of Adam's fall, we see that they're even superior to men and women. Now we know that angels were created before God created men and women. And unfortunately, even in the angels, the supernatural trouble came, and 1,000, not 1,000, but 1/3 of all the angels walked off and followed Satan, who was one of the head angels in heaven. They are smarter than men and women. Gabriel, in Daniel 9 and 21, we see an example. But they're, of course, inferior to God. Remember, God created them, and they're not what they would like to think they are. For example, that are not omnipresent. They can't be everywhere at the same time. They're not also omniscient or all-knowing. Only God is this, and not all-powerful. So again, we see they have limits to who they are and what they can do. They have personalities. We see many examples in the Bible where angels came, and I remember when Paul was sleeping in a prison and the angel kind of kicked him on his side to get out of there, right? They also have characteristics in the sense of like a military operation. There are ranks for angels. We see that there are archangels. Michael is one of them named in the Bible, and we'll talk about what they do. Again, he helps lesser ranked angels to get through and answer Daniel's prayer, for example, in Daniel 10. They will stand up for Israel, again, during the tribulation period in Revelations. He disputes with Satan. This is the archangel now, concerning the body of Moses in Jude 9. He fights against Satan in the heavenlies. Then we see another archangel. First one was Michael, that we talked about. Now Gabriel. His name means a mighty one of God. This is interesting. Gabriel was sent to explain the vision of the ram and the goat to Daniel in Daniel 8. He explains the 70 weeks to Daniel in Daniel 9. He predicts the birth of John the Baptist in Zacharias in Luke 1 and 19. He predicts the birth of Jesus to Mary. He assures Joseph concerning the purity of Mary in Matthew 1 and 20. He warns Joseph at a time when there was a plot to kill all the babies, King Herod, in Matthew 2 and 15. And we also see that he announces the birth of Christ to the shepherds in Luke 2nd chapter, in the 9th verse. He strengthens Jesus at the Garden of Gethsemane before the crucifixion. He rolls the stone back at Christ's resurrection in Matthew 28. He frees the apostles from prison, and we see many examples of that in Acts 5 is one of them. He sends Philip to the desert. You remember? He had been ministering, and the Lord brings him into a desert to meet one man coming from Africa. He instructs Cornelius to send for Peter, and so on, when something had happened and God wanted to use him in a special way in Acts 10. He even frees Peter from prison. He executes the wicked Herod for blasphemy, and so on. And we see even on a sinking ship, he assures Paul on the deck of the sinking ship that he's not going to die. Here's the most interesting one of all. He will sound the trumpet at the rapture in 1 Thessalonians 4:16. Then we see there's another group of angels called the cherubim. Very interesting group. We'll see them in Genesis 3 and Exodus 25 and Ezekiel 1. It's an interesting group of angels. They have 4 faces, right? The face in the front is of a man. The face on the right is a lion. The face to the left is an ox, and the face in back is as an eagle. He has 2 pairs of wings. The other pair used for cover of the body, and the middle pair to spread out in the middle of the back. These angels have legs of men, but their feet are cloven like calves, and so on. They have 4 human hands, one located under each wing. And apparently they travel in groups of 4, and outstretched wings, and so on. What are their duties? Here's one of the most interesting ones. They kept Adam from the tree of life after the fall, lest he eat of it, right? Unfortunately, what happened? They did anyway. And then we see the 2 golden cherubim were constructed at God's command and placed at either end on top of the ark, the lid in the tabernacle. They appeared to many of the prophets, such as Ezekiel in Ezekiel 1. They also spoke to many of the other prophets in Isaiah. Then there's another group called the seraphim. These are very strange-looking people. In Isaiah 6, it tells us the seraphim are like burning ones. And it could be that they have this tremendous devotion to God that they actually burn from it or with it. And again, they're only mentioned one time in the Bible. And again, a very unique description. They have 6 wings. They proclaim the great majesty of God constantly, holy, holy, holy. This is their job. It's an awesome sound. And Isaiah, we see, he gets a vision of this beautiful group of angels. And he's ministered to one of the seraphim at one time, who flew over the heavenly altar. We see that they're living creatures also, which are types of angels, special heavenly beings. We see their number, is limited to just 4. And again, it's suggesting that these particular ones are assigned to Lucifer and what he's doing before he even became a devil. Again, John the Apostle sees these 4 standing before the shining crystal sea of heaven. And we see that each of them have a very strange appearance. One has the face of a lion, one has the face of an ox, one has the face of man, and one has the face of eagles. And there's many, many descriptions of why they are in this, but again, we have to wait till we get to heaven to find out the real answers, right? Again, there are ruling angels. We see them in Ephesians 1 and 3. We also see them in Colossians 1 and 2, in 1 Peter 3. Listen to the names of them. You've probably heard them before. There are principalities, there are powers, there are thrones, there are authorities, there are dominions, and they are of might. And we see that these particular positions are used for various special times in the ministry of God. We see the archangels, and they're an interesting group, and it says they are ministering angels, ministering spirits, sent forth to minister for them that have heirs of salvation. And these are guardian spirits for us. Many times we might be in a serious situation, and they come to protect us from evil angels, the type that we were talking about earlier, of the Satan's crew, And these guardian angels are there to fight for us in the spirit as well. We also see that angels have been, in many ways, given to us in the Word of God. Some of them appear like a chariot of fire and horses of fire. And we see that all of these different descriptions and appearances give us an idea of a particular ministry that they are here to help us in the sense of protection and also leading us in areas that where God sets us. We'll stop here. We're going to continue our study of the angels. And remember that the Bible talks about we may even come across angels unawares. God sends them for a reason, either protection or perhaps even sometimes correction. So God bless you. We'll see you next week.